Welcome to a BumbleKast Mini, sponsored by Twilord.
This one is very interesting. Twilord here has some very lengthy questions with a lot of setup, and it's about Digimon. So let's go ahead and jump into it. I was going to ask a bunch of questions from Shadow the Hedgehog, Sonic Riders, the movies, and a lot of questions about the process. Honestly, I was getting really stressed about what to ask first. But on the day off I'd scheduled to write my 12 questions, something interesting happened. You had a new video where you had to admit you couldn't answer a question about giving the Sonic characters Digimon partners. So I've decided to break the ice with something dumb and ask you 7 questions about Sonic cross Digimon, but with explanations of how Digimon stuff works so you can actually answer. I reduced the number of questions so you can have more time to read and process the explanations, and because I'm already kind of being a jerk here. Does that sound good to you?
A Q&A session where I'm given like 3 sets of training wheels. I like it.
Yeah, me too. It's much appreciated because I don't know a dang thing about Digimon except that they are digital monsters and the champions. That's all I know. So
that and Team 4 Star's abridged movie was hilarious, but I don't think it was too authentic to the source material. So,
well, I mean, it is Team 4 Star.
Yeah. Well, anyway, let's move on to something fresh.
Yes.
And get to their questions.
Yes. Here we go. Like much of the Sonic fan base, I have a desperate need for a new Chao garden. This was recently massively intensified by playing Digimon World at Next Order, which makes sense, I guess, since Digimon is originally a 1997 Tamagotchi offshoot. That I did not know. And that just kind of got huge. So a lot of V-Pets of that era take some inspiration from it, knowingly or otherwise. The 3 main things that reminded me of Chao were that they're on a limited lifespan but reincarnate. It's super important that you do things to keep them happy, and you don't control your Digimon during its real-time combat, but rather get to tell it what strategy or move to employ via a cooldown, which felt sort of like a more in-depth version of cheering for your Chao during a race. Albeit with the stakes that usually only Cheese and Chaos, the most Digimon-like Chao, have to deal with. Unfortunately, as much as I enjoyed the MonRPG Digimon Story Cyber Sleuth Complete Edition and visual novel Digimon Survive, Digimon games currently on the Switch, they don't scratch that same Chao Garden adjacent itch as Next Order does. What games have you played that scratched the itch for that strange niche in between V-Pets and Mon that Digimon and Chao fit so neatly into?
Nothing. Nothing has approached that at all. I mean, in the very, very, very fringe, there was the feature in, what was it, Pokemon Sun and Moon? I don't remember what the term was. Was it Pokemon Ami? Something like that. Anyway, you basically go into like a first-person mode and you kind of play around with your critter as if you're playing with your pet. And that was kind of cute. Had a nice novelty to it, but that's it. And that is a pale shadow to what you're talking about. So no, I have nothing. I am Chao starved just as you.
It was so perfect for mobile game type gameplay. Mm-hmm. Maybe without being so egregious with the microtransaction side of things, but still,
yeah,
could make a lot of money. Well, oh well. Sega doesn't like to make money, or they only like to make money in very specific ways. I'm not sure. It's hard to tell. Here's the next question from Twilord. Digimon partners are something of a combination of guardian angel, spirit guide, and familiar. Usually they will have personalities which either act as a complement or foil to their partners. It's often the case that a tamer with a lot of anxiety issues will get a partner who is either quite lazy or quite the prankster. Recently in a visual novel, a character who loves superhero characters got a partner whose personality was in line with the myth of chivalrous knights, and who spoke to his partner like said partner was actually his much-loved knave. Effectively, that meant his familiar was pushing him into the reality of that hero and training fantasy we've all had, and actually helped him deal with his immense fear as being stranded in a world of monsters. This is important because in the lore it tends to be the case that only through dealing with personal trauma and building their bond Can Tamers lend their Digimon the power to evolve to their most powerful forms? What personalities do you think could help Sonic, Shadow, Tails, Rouge, Cream, Jet, and Blaze, for example, manifest more of their best selves?
Okay, so with that context, I imagine that Sonic himself is so pure and distilled in his own nature. Whatever partner he would get would just kind of reinforce that. Um, maybe. Because while Sonic himself is strengthened by the different personalities around him, he's more of a force of change for them. He's more of the partner than the tamer when it comes to the greater Sonic cast and this mentality. So it's kind of hard to think of somebody affecting him. And it's hard to think because he doesn't change. That's kind of Sonic's thing. He has his ethos, he has his worldview, he has his style, which he won't change.
He never has.
And
It's
yeah, so I just imagine that whatever partner he would have would just kind of let him double down and the two of them do all sorts of cool things together. And that bond would strengthen the partner into something quite formidable quite quickly. Shadow, kind of along the same line, I see him getting a partner that is equally standoffish and independent. And through that interaction, they come to the realization that they need each other to accomplish whatever they're doing. They're certainly powerful in their own rights, but together they are something stronger. And that small dose of humility through interaction might be something interesting to follow up on. Tails, I could see it going one of two ways. I feel like the easier, possibly lazier option would be to have a partner that fills Sonic's role, so something of a mentor and protector and a guide to encourage Tails to grow and accept who he is. But we've seen that story a lot.
yeah.
And I feel like that's just plugging the same thing into the same spot. So maybe invert it. And the partner is a particularly weak and self-conscious one, and it's Tails who has to take on the mentor role. Tails who has to make them believe in their own power and help them grow and expand and use all the life experiences that Sonic gave him to, and apply them. I don't know. I feel like that would be a more enriching story to be told.
I like that one, actually. That would be really cool. Give Tails something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Rouge, again, one of two options. Either double down and have one that's a partner that's an equally kleptomaniac prankster, kind of, not prankster, but disturber of the peace type. The one to drop in that one comment to set everyone off, just for the two of them to go on sprees together and be fun. Or someone who's more of a moral compass, someone who gives Rouge a moment to pause and think about why she's doing what she's doing. There is always that fine line of ethical execution when being a spy. And does she need to stay on mission? Does she need to think about what this information she's gathering will do? Should she honor the contract for the client, or is the client sketchy? I feel like whatever partner she would get would revolve around what story you're telling more than what the characters themselves are. I don't know. At least that's where I'm stumbling forward into. Cream's partner is Cheese.
I mean, yeah.
And she is young and fairly inexperienced in world canon. Don't at me. Yes, I know she's done a lot of stuff. And Cheese is equally brave, but more forthright. He is the one who goes charging in like a little cyan meteor and is always very equally proper and supportive of her. So I feel like that's your dynamic right there. Like, just in this universe, give Cheese some digi-evolutions and call it a day.
Cheesy.
Jet? Jet, I think, might be more appropriate for the moral compass partner, like I mentioned with Rouge, because he's a self-centered, arrogant, bratty person with undeserved authority. But there is that core of sportsmanship deep down. Sure, it's based entirely in pride, but he wants to win a race by his own virtues, not necessarily through circumstances. So having a partner that tries to mind that, tries to pull that aspect of him out a bit more, maybe get him to take the chip off his shoulder and, get off his high horse or extreme gear if you want. There needs to be a horse-shaped extreme gear, come to think of it, but that's another topic. That might be an interesting way to take it and see how that partner clashes with Wave and Storm, who, Wave can be kind of obnoxiously maternal, but they both are very enabling of Jet. So you would have this poor partner not making any headway and getting no support. As for Blaze, her partner is Marine. Like, really, when you get down to it,
Yeah.
Blaze is very measured and reserved and thoughtful, and when need be, ferocious. And while she's opened up considerably since her initial appearance, she's still very guarded and doesn't really open herself up to others too much. So, and Marine is the opposite. Marine has never met a stranger. Marine doesn't know when to think and stop talking, ever. Marine is all about just go out there and do it. Try to get it done. And if you fail, well, that's embarrassing. Do it again. So, yeah, make Marine her Digimon partner and have Marine Digivolve. Have this whole mechanical nautical theme. I've seen some Digimon. It could work.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that makes sense.
I mean, giant battleship themed Gundam Marine.
That sounds pretty awesome. I'm with it. I'll do it. I'll take that. All right, let's move on into our next question here. In the Sonic Advance 3, we see Cheese actually become a character Chao for the people Cream is teaming up with. This is honestly kind of similar to how Digimon can evolve differently based on their environment and the personality and emotions of their tamer. This, combined with the fact that Chaos transformed into a hate kaiju by only absorbing the negative energy of the Chaos Emeralds, creates a very amusing symmetry to me. It highlights that
One second. I gotta pause you there. I adore the term hate kaiju. That's hilarious.
That is pretty good. Yeah. It highlights that Chao have some hint of Digimon's personal light potential to be transformed by the influence of their partner. There are 10 rough fields that Digimon often belong into. It's common for a Digimon to belong to more than one, and they will often lean more into one of their fields or another more heavily when evolving, depending on the personality of the partner. This is supported by the fact that Digimon can evolve into any Digimon of the next evolutionary stage. And then it gives a listing of the different types. So we have Nature Spirits, Deep Savers, Nightmare Soldiers, Wind Guardians, Metal Empire, Unknown, Dark Area, Virus Busters, Dragon's War, and Jungle Troops. So, using the lens of how the bonds with Chao work, if you had to take a stab at it, then which of these fields do you feel like different Sonic characters would cause V-Pet's partners to lean into?
That's, for one thing, tantalizing. Not even sure how to tackle this one. Let's step back and just look at the Chao themselves and the whole neutral hero dark thing and how simplistic that is in comparison. Like, you also have the divisions of the abilities, your speed, your fly, your swim, your power, arguably stamina. But those don't really reflect the personality. Those are just the traits. And I kind of wish they folded that into it, but that's talking more like what would you want in a new Chao game, and that's not what the question is. So, and it also limits what your dark Chao can be because the number of dark characters is very low. Well, let's see. Like, I guess the best way to approach that would be to look at the Sonic characters themselves as the basis and use their intrinsic attributes as the defining factor, which is maybe what you already said, and I'm reaching your same conclusion just very, very slowly. Like, I could see Tails gravitating towards Wind Guardians for the flying and air aspects, but also Metal Empire because he is, clearly very mechanically based, at least in the modern setting. Because so many of the dark characters walk that fine line of they're not villains, but they are kind of self-serving, edgy, for lack of a better term. They're poorly defined, but I feel like that fits better for Nightmare Soldier necessarily than Dark Area. Because for, as much as we go back and forth on what his current characterization is, Shadow isn't a villain. And Dark Area, as you've described it, is villainous. Maybe that's more of an Eggman thing, an Infinite thing. Deadly Six, even. But I see, like, Shadow, Rouge, Omega, they would be more Nightmare Soldier influencing. And, just for funsies, we'll say Werehog, too. Not because Sonic's spirit isn't just necessarily any darker there, but he, at least in the gameplay, he is a little more wild and ferocious. That kind of might lean towards nature spirits, or maybe unknown, but that's treating Werehog like a separate character. That's more of a branding thing than anything else.
Alrighty. And our next question. So it is hard to argue that Sonic characters aren't stylish as all hell, and if they got Digimon partners... And if they got Digimon partners, said partners would definitely need to complement them aesthetically. With that in mind, I'm going to show you a bunch of pictures of rookie-level Digimon from the new hit TCG, possibly the fourth most popular one at the moment. Rookie is the level at which most Digimon who become partners to analog lifeforms will do so. I've picked some random Digimon that might give you a nice enough cross-section to choose from. And then there's a whole bunch of Digimon. Can you pick 3 or more of these and tell me which Sonic characters you think they'd make good partners with from a style perspective? Digimon are individuals, you can give them any personality.
Now that's an interesting aspect I didn't know about Digimon. Like, I'm looking at...
yeah, I didn't know that
the
either.
image is somewhat cut off. But there's a fella here which... what is that? He looks kind of like a little dark imp who's into kendo. And that seems to be coded to be a more antagonistic styled creature, just at a glance. But with this idea that they can be any personality, maybe he's not a jerk. Maybe he's not bad. He's just drawn that way. This white and gold Linun looking thing, Kudamoa, it looks like it's coded to be an angelic, light, good force, but you look into those eyes. Maybe it's a judgmental jerk. It's hard to say. And then you've got what looks like Master Chief rendered through a CRT monitor. Monetaman. Yeah, sure. So, I look at these designs and I feel like they have a lot of personality to them, but you're saying that they can't have any personality. And that's thrown me off a little bit, not going to lie. It's like, if he looks like this, shouldn't he act like this? But, I don't know, we can give little CRT Chief over here to Tails. Maybe he can upgrade him to an LCD head. I don't know what his Digi-evolutions are. The Pulsemon here, that looks very Sonic-y. It looks like he's got, that swift electric thing going on. He's got the claws. He looks like he's got some sass. I'm also liking Goblinmon here. He looks like he's going to start trouble and he's going to enjoy doing it. We're going to give him to Surge. Surge is going to be a bad influence and he's going to like it.
I dig it. Digimon is obviously heavily associated with its anime series. This is in part because while it was the last major franchise born on Game & Watch style hardware, and had a rougher time converting its ideas and worldview to the expectations of more powerful machines, despite producing a couple difficult to reproduce cult classics in the process. Amusingly, this means the first great franchise of the now primary type of handheld gaming console, Pokemon on the Game Boy, had its most noticeable contemporary in the monster taming genre be the last great franchise born from the type of gaming console for which it was helping to seal the fate, despite the debate between franchises mostly being about the shows. Another side fact of the somewhat wild approach to figuring out its place in an ever-evolving gaming space has led to it having a certain charming chaoticness that fans tend to both appreciate and revile based on how much the latest game matches their taste. Something that obviously can't be said about any other franchises with a badass selection of edgy talking shonen anthros that at its peak was considered the rival to a Nintendo franchise in a sea of clones. I see what you did there. I see. Besides Sonic, Pokemon, and Digimon, can you think of any other multi-billion-dollar franchises that started as games, which have had their expanded media be that extremely important to their brand?
A couple that spring to mind, and I could be very wrong here, but I think of Halo and how the novelizations and comics and other lore elements kind of just it blew up around it, but I don't know how much it directly affected the game itself. I fell off the Halo bandwagon around 4, so most of my understanding of the greater lore affecting it is tangential at best. But I do remember seeing people mentioning elements from the books showing up in the games or not coinciding, and that disjointedness feels a little disheartening. It's like if you're going to use your expanded universe, why not apply it to the core? I understand that that's a very, very tricky thing to do, but it's also, Halo, you have all the money. Take your time. Also along that line, and this is me even further removed, but Warcraft. Like, I have seen reams of very angry takes about how lore in the games has been spun in the extended media and how it may or may not affect what goes on in the MMO. And it just washes over me. I can't keep track of any of these discount token names. I'm lost, but I get the general sense of ire. But then again, I'm not that deep in the fandom, so maybe I'm just getting, one aspect of people being angry on the internet. That's the internet. That's internet discourse for you. So I don't know if there is a larger fan base that does enjoy it and that there is actual interconnectivity that bolsters it that I'm just not aware of. I mean, the last thing I played was Warcraft 3, not even the expansion stuff. So I'm way behind the curve on that one.
Alrighty. And our last question from Twilord. Digimon currently has a device called the Vital Bracelet. It is a new VPET meets Fitbit hybrid, and it has been getting a lot of crossovers. Its mascot is Pulsemon, pictured above. Essentially, it means that you have to get a partner to do your fitness routine with you. The main reason I can't help thinking about how cool Sonic and Digimon would be together isn't because it would be a quick and dirty way to get a new shonen feeling, character drama fueled, urban fantasy feeling Sonic again, while getting the VPET side tied into the primary gameplay more directly. That idea only came to me as a side effect of crossing over with another franchise that also loves the subtitle adventure. Is it because I really want to see Sega and Bandai arranged that part of crossover? It is because I really want to see Sega and Bandai arranged the part of that crossover where we can get Chao on the Vital Bracelet. Which brings me to my last question. How much would it help your fitness habits if you could raise Chao by going for a run or a long skate while listening to Crush 40?
Well, my Chao would be ripped and I would be dead in a gutter somewhere. I mean, there was something appealing about Chao Adventure on the VMU. My God, that takes me back. Of just, sending your Chao all out on its merry adventure and then checking in with it once it's back. But using it in this hybrid fashion like you're thinking, and maybe it gets through its adventure depending on your physical activity. If you go for a walk, that's how long they go adventuring, and you get more prizes from it. More drops and stuff to level up your various Chao. Or, maybe if there's some kind of... don't have a Fitbit myself. I don't know how invasive these could be, but if it has some kind of GPS aspect.
Yes, it does.
So you go walking through a forest and you get more, bird elements for your fly types, or you go walking by a coastal area and you get more swim type drops for your swim Chao. It would kind of suck for folks who are not there, in a region that has multiple biomes. But, maybe that's part of the game is you program, I'm going to be walking in this biome today, wink, wink. And then you go for your usual walk and it treats it like that. It is a very easy sell of an idea. I definitely see it working very well. And, you sync that up with your mobile app so that you have some actual graphical fidelity instead of your wristwatch, and, dress up your little Chao and actually interact with them in the gardens that you maintain. And this would print money, man. Why is this not a thing?
I don't know. It's really dumb. You'd think it would make a lot of money and people would love it, but I don't know.
Take a page out of Pokemon Go and have community days where, like, Sonic will be over here. Walk this many steps to meet him. And you get your little Sonic collectible, which you use to raise your Sonic Chao.
I don't know, man. It could be a budget thing, maybe. It could be just that they don't have the right people making the right calls. I don't know, man. I think it's weird. It's very, I'm very, very confused by some of their decisions. But I guess it's what we got to live with.
I mean, you would also have to take into account folks who just, like, stuff their Fitbit in a couple of socks and throw it in the dryer. Oh, you walked up Mount Everest and back 3 times. Here's all the goodies. But, I leave that for the game designers to figure out.
Well, Twilord has one last little thing to say before we get out of here. He says, "Thanks for humoring this ridiculous question array of mine. I'm glad for this excuse to do this, because as happy as I am to be able to give myself this opportunity to probe your mind, coming up with just 12 questions is hard. Silly themes will make it much easier. After suffering through this, I hope you're excited for my Shadow the Hedgehog questions."
Well, thank you for your concise and informative Digimon 101. I feel like I understand it a lot better now.
Yeah, me too. I appreciate it.
And thanks for holding my hand through the process.
I think we've both learned a lot.
Yeah. As for Shadow Q&A, I'll do my best. We'll cross that pump action assault rifle when we get to it.
Are you going to ask about issue 19 again? How many times we need to get into that one?
Thank you again for Twilord for sponsoring this BumbleKast Mini. You can get your own BumbleKast Mini for $25 over at patreon.com/BumbleKast, Ko-fi.com/BumbleKast, or being a YouTube member.
And that's going to be it. We'll see you next time.